Hi everybody, it's Crazy, it's Monday, and it's time for the UPBGE video of the week. Now, before I get started, gotta give a shout out to my trust because you guys rock. To my Crazy fam, I love you guys. And to my patrons, thank you for your continued support. Now, we are up to episode number 55, and we left off last week with inverse kinematics. And I put this up because in hopes that we can still continue on. This is basically also an inverse kinematics. They actually have a little bit deeper thing to get into with this, so let's just go ahead and get started with this. Okay, so inverse kinematics. Let me put you back over there. Alright, so the IK, inverse kinematics bone constraint, helps you bypass the FK, forward kinematics, architecture of the armature bones. FK is designed for individual changes of rotation over the bone chain from the parent to the children. In order to change the bone location, you need to rotate all the bones that lead to it and make sure that the resulting rotation places the bone into the desired location. Okay? And I don't know where that would be at. It says it's figure 4.17, but I don't see that anywhere. Okay, I'm assuming that the constraint, IK constraint, is what it's talking about. It's very easy to lose yourself in going back and forth to fine-tune the position of your bones. Let's look at an arm rig as an example. Okay, so here's an arm rig. Okay, basically you've got your wrist, your hand, your wrist, your forearm, and your like a bicep, yeah, and your bicep area. Okay, over here. Alright, a simple armature would have a shoulder bone as the parent, so that would be technically this little deal right here. Okay, the arm bone right here, the forearm, okay, and the hand as children. If you want to put the hand in a particular place, you need to rotate the shoulder, rotate the arm, and finally rotate the hand. If you miscalculated the extension of the arm and its radius of extension, you need to go back and rotate the hand again, fine-tuning it. Okay? With IK, you only need to move the hand target. That's this little guy right here. Well, this would be considered an IK. Okay? And you would move it. You know, you can actually move the wrist, the hand, so on and so forth. See. The rotation of the forearm, arm, and shoulder will automatically be calculated by Blender. So whenever you go to grab this and move it, this whole arm will move in that direction. If I pulled it, I hit grab and hit, see. Well, this one is just a stiff arm bone, so it's not really a bone. Well, it actually did, see? Well, you can see how the hand actually, moves with the arm. As you see, it's like a person moving their hand, see? About the same type of deal. Alright, so the target bone can't be a parent or a child of any bone constrained by this bone constraint. This produces cyclic, unpredictable effects. Okay, this includes not only the bone where you add the IK, but also as many bones as you set in your chain length. Leaving it as zero influences the whole bone chain. Okay. Okay. Let's switch over to it so you can see what I'm talking about here. It's doing it again. There we go. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, what it's talking about is this influence right here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so the zero influences the whole bone chain. So if I took 0 down, cancel that. If I took this and zeroed it down, then we go over here to 6. Okay, and I did the same thing with that constraint. Okay, this is a transform, but you got the influence here. So if I brought that all the way down, you notice that the hand goes straight. But if I put the whole full influence, it will bend. Okay, it will bend to its normal influence, and it will be affected by the entire chain. Okay. All right, legacy solver. What are we up to? Yeah. Okay, the legacy solver. By default, Blender uses the legacy solver for the inverse kinematics calculations. This is how most of the animation software works and how animations are used to work. Okay, when a bone is under the influence of an IK bone constraint, you can set specific IK settings in the bone panel, as you see right here. I'm going to go to the bone panel. That's this little guy right here. Okay, this is what it's talking about. These are the legacy constraints, IK inverse kinematics IKs. Okay, those parameters allow you to add some control over the otherwise automatic IK computations. Okay, so for limit, that's these guys right here. When you click limit, you can limit it by however you want. Okay, so in the arm, you need to make sure that the bones behave as real bones would. For example, in real life, you can't twist the elbow above certain limits. In order to mimic this behavior, you can force the rotation of the bone to be inside a given range. In our case, the limits would be on the X, it would be 5 degrees to 180. Okay, on the Y, it would be negative 90 to 90, and on the Z, it would be 0 and 0. Okay. Stiffness. This parameter sets how difficult it is to rotate the bone. Yeah. High values make a bone makes a bone rotate less. Joint stiffness can be one of the early symptoms of arthritis, so look after your characters. Okay, so you can set these stiffnesses to be super stiff or not stiff at all. Okay, so the higher the value, the less the bone moves. Okay, so the less you can influence that bone. Okay. Stretch. Cartoon arms often need to stretch beyond their original sizes. The stretch factor has to be set per bone. Stretch needs to be enabled in the bone constraint as well, but it's on by default. Okay. Unlike the stretch to bone constraint, the volume of the bone is not entirely preserved when using the IK stretch. In other words, the arm seems fat when stretched. To use IK stretching and the stretch to bone constraint, you need to set up two bone chains separately, one for IK and the other for with stretch to deform the mesh. The stretch to is what preserves the correct volume for the bones. You can see a sample file in the stretch to section later in this chapter. See, we're up to 8 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to do just target less bones, and then we're going to end it there because we're getting almost up to that time. So target less bone constraint. If you don't select a target for the bone constraint, you can still use the IK in a special way. In this case, the constrained bone is the self-target, and as such, it's free to be placed anywhere. This technique, known as fake IK, is really light in terms of computation. In the traditional IK, you keyframe only the target bone. Thus, the IK computation, has to run every time you play the animation. With fake IK, the computation is valid during the transformation, when you are moving the target bone around. You have you have to keyframe all the individual constrained bones for this to work. This is automatically done when auto key is enabled from the timeline editor. Okay, so down here in the timeline editor, if you click this one right here, that right there is the automatic keyframe. Okay, so the auto key will automatically, every time you move something, will automatically key that in. Okay. Since there is no IK happening when you play the animation, the computation of the fake IK is far superior to real IK. And that's where we're going to end it off. Let me switch over here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, we're going to leave it on ITASC solver for next week. That is page number 23. So let me switch back over to here. And that's what we're going to work. It's going to be a lot with AK and IKs because that's a lot of information, and I want to kind of break that one down a little bit because of the fact that it's so far up there. Okay, there's a lot of information that you have to learn in there, and when we get further into it, we're going to be playing a lot with IK, FKs, so on and so forth. Okay, so there's certain things that you got to know about those, and these are just the basics. So everything we're going over in this chapter is all basics. Okay, this is just the beginning of the stack. All right. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and leave it off there. Page number 23 one more time, and we'll see y'all next week.